a couple of statements, and then we'll go with some questions.
All right. Thanks for being here. Clearly, I think we had a great season. We exceeded a lot of public expectations. I think we achieved a lot of internal goals. If they weren't expectations, they were goals. One of the things I want to point to is the support of our owner. Nobody's been more supportive than Paul Allen with everything that we wanted to do, starting with every transaction we made, free agents we pursued, trades we executed, the support of the coaching staff. And Terry and I sit here and talk to you guys and unfortunately take most of the accolades, but at the end of the day, there are 43 people that work in this building and there's another 159 that work at the Moda Center, and they all contribute to this. The culture that we're trying to build, the organization, the stability, the model for sustainability that we're trying to develop here. Terry and I are out in front, Chris McGowan's out in front down at the Moda Center with the business division, but the people that work with all of us on a daily basis don't get enough credit, and they deserve it because they're the people in the back of the house that are really getting a lot of the stuff done for our players that let them go out and do what they do. And for Chris and his staff, the revenue that they generate, the improvements that they make down there, the sponsorships, the way they handle season ticket holders and our fans, that is a part of everything that goes into building the culture we're trying to create. So on behalf of Paul, I want to thank all of them. I want to thank you guys for the way you covered the team this year. I thought you guys were incredibly fair. You were creative, you were supportive when we deserved support, and you held us accountable when we need to be held accountable. So I also want to congratulate Terry on his contract extension. Clearly that was much deserved and as much of a no-brainer as any contract extension I've ever done. As frustrated as you guys were that I didn't talk about it during the season, you don't talk about things like that during the season, and to Terry's credit, even when it was done, he didn't want to talk about it until the last game was played because he wanted to focus on the team. And I think that's a message that is slowly starting to filter out to everybody, that the players and the team come first before anybody else. So with that, I'll give you Terry, and then I'm open to any questions you guys have.
I really don't have much of a statement. I talk to you guys every day. You've heard enough from me. But I do want to say, obviously, it was in the press release. I'm thrilled to be to have the extension. To know that I'm going to be here for a while. This is an unbelievable situation for me personally. It's one of the best franchises, if not the best franchise in the league. We have great facility. Neil and I work well together. Mr. Allen is a great owner. The players, we bring players that are not only talented but are good people and fun to work with. We've hired good people, as Neil talked about, throughout the organization. And it's just, for me, it's, I've been in this league a long time, and honestly, I'm as happy as I've ever been in the league, and I'm really proud to be here.
Neil, how much help do you envision coming from outside, or do you think everything has to pretty much come from within?
No, look, we've got some tools, Jace. We've got the mid-level, we've got the biannual. We clearly don't have a lot of roster spots, but I think one of the things we've proven, over the first 2 years is that we're going to be creative, we're going to be aggressive. Again, look, I walked off the court last year. We won 33 games, and the first thing Paul said was, "How are we going to get better?" We won 54 games this year. We're in the second round of the playoffs, and the first email I got yesterday morning was, "How are we going to get better?" So, look, we're going to be aggressive. We're going to be opportunistic. There's a lot of ways to improve your team. Clearly, we've got a great coaching staff. We've got talented young guys. We have probably 6 young guys on our roster in the first 2 years of their deal that haven't really even been on the floor. We've seen them in the gym, but you guys really haven't seen them in meaningful games because of our commitment to winning. So I think they're going to contribute. We'll be aggressive in free agency. We'll be opportunistic in trades like we have been. And like I said, it's my goal and my job basically every year to move the organization forward and give Terry the tools he needs in terms of roster composition to compete at the highest level. And like I said, nobody is more deliberate and nobody is more aggressive in pushing us every day to get better than Paul. And, like I said, we made a 21-game jump this year, and he's looking for a jump again next year. And that's what keeps me up at night, is finding ways to make transactions that'll give Terry the tools to do that.
That puts us at 75 next year.
We're going to play an MLB schedule.
How much does the acquisition of a draft pay?
You know, look, we've got a lot of young guys. You know, I think everybody gets caught up in the draft because that's what's sexy right now, right? You know, we're a month from the draft. My staff is in Chicago right now. In terms of scouting the draft, this is probably more complicated than any draft I've ever been involved in, because we don't have a pick. So we're not targeting a specific range in the draft. So we've got to be prepared for anything, you know, 1 through 60. You just don't know when the phone's going to ring. You don't know when a player is available that you can pursue. But I think the reality of having, you know, only potentially 2 roster spots open and available, we've got to be judicious with what we add to that, because we're out of the talent acquisition mode. Okay, we are out of the asset acquisition mode, and now we're about winning games. And I think everybody on the roster, the coaching staff, the front office, ownership has gotten a taste and remembered what it's like to be in the second round of the playoffs, and knowing just how close you are to really getting where all of us want to go, which is to still be playing in June. And I think if we can find a player that moves that process forward, then I think we'll be aggressive. If it's draft, it's draft. If it's free agent, it's free agent. If it's trade, it's trade. But the goal is to have a better team on the floor October 1st than we did this past October 1st.
Sir?
There's been so much talk in the past how big cities can rule the NBA and how hard it is. But if you look now, before you got San Antonio, Oklahoma City, and Indiana. Is that an anomaly, or is that indicative of what you can do in a smaller market now?
Well, I mean, from a management standpoint, you know, Adam Silver has talked about this since when we came out of bargaining, that the goal of the league right now is that any team, if well managed, has a chance to win a championship. And I think no matter how great the pedigree of San Antonio is, you know, in Indiana, and recently Oklahoma City, I think what you see is that it's true. I think there's going to be more parity. I think it's going to have a lot more to do with, you know, being judicious with who you sign, not giving away bad contracts, having stability, having a system, having faith in your coaching staff, that kind of consistency on a year-in basis will move things forward. And I do, and I think it is exciting that you're going to have 2 small market teams in the Western Conference. And, you know, as glamorous a marketplace as Miami is, it's not New York, Chicago, or LA in terms of size of market, but they're clearly well-run, well-coached, and have incredible talent. So I'm excited about being a general manager in today's NBA, where market isn't as important as culture.
Terry, will your staff remain the same?
Yes.
And can you talk about your confidence in them as far as developing young talent?
I can't tell you how much I appreciate my staff. They work well together. They've developed young talent. I mean, you look at, I think we had 8 players in their first or second year, and I think all of them got better. You know, some of it you see, some of it you don't, but I know they all have gotten better. They work well with the veteran players, you know, Wes and Nick and Rob and LA. They have done a tremendous job of improving the players that we have. But beyond that, they're good people. They have great work ethic. They have us prepared every game. They love the game. They love being on the court. They love being in the gym. They come in here on off days and work with players. They connect with them off the court, go to dinner with them. So I couldn't ask more from my staff. And, you know, I'm very fortunate to have them.
Neil, is there a deal with Stotts just done before the season?
You can call me Terry. We're like this now. Yeah.
Was that the regular season or right before the playoffs?
No, look, Terry knew he was going to be back. You know, the formalizing a contract, that's between myself, you know, Terry's agent, making sure Terry's on board. You know, that's paperwork. But the contract extension wasn't a result of us winning a playoff series. The contract extension was a result of that this organization is heading in the right direction. I thought we were one of the best coached teams in the NBA this year. I thought our young guys were developing. I thought we have an incredible system where, you know, the goal of the league, I used to talk about this with my friends in Phoenix, that they had the easiest, hardest job in the world years ago because they had a specific system and they knew exactly who would fit in their system, and then they just had to go out and find them. And I think, I think you saw that with San Antonio, and I think hopefully that's the direction we're heading, and I think we are heading in the right direction. The way we play, we just talked to all the guys in the exit interviews, we have a way we play, and the goal is now when you go into free agency or you go into the draft or you talk to an agent, is to say, look, when you come to Portland, you know how we're going to play. And that's what's important. But like I said, some people think that for reasons passing understanding, we don't talk about options and extensions during the year. But there's a reason you do that, is because the focus then remains on the team and not on anybody's individual contractual situation, be it player, coach, front office member. But what I said was this would be resolved immediately. And I don't know if it could have been resolved any faster than when Terry was on a plane coming back from our last game.
Is there an area or a position that you will focus most on?
Look, I don't know. I mean, when you've got, the mid-level and the biannual and 2 roster spots, I think adding veteran talent is important. And, again, right now, you can only look at what we have today. That doesn't include trade possibilities. It doesn't include, a myriad of options of how to change your roster composition. So, we're not going to pigeonhole ourselves into saying we need one specific position. My feeling is, even if it's a redundancy, if the guy is more talented, just playing that inside the box, we need a big, get a big, we need a wing, get a wing, gets you in trouble. Because you've now balanced the menu, but if you're not talented enough, it doesn't matter. And I think one of the things Terry has done, being so creative as a coach, is that he puts our best 5 players on the floor. We had some injuries this year. We went outside the box. We didn't just play the next guy in line, right? We went small. We played 2 bigs. We played multiple guards in the backcourt. And I think that's where the league is heading, is you're just looking for the 5 best basketball players you can put on the court and then coaching them within that framework. So, like I said, we're going to be open-minded when it comes to free agency, and we're going to be opportunistic when it comes to trades.
Terry, does having an extension, does that at all change your relationship with players? Or does that help at all relationship with players, them knowing that you're going to be here for?
I don't know. I haven't been in this position before. We'll find out. Hope not. Hope not. Look, we had a terrific year, and essentially I was on the last year of my contract. Obviously, there was an option. That I don't think that had any effect on my relationship with the players, how I coached the game, how I coached the team. So you'd like to think that the players that we have on the roster, the coaching staff, it's about basketball and doing what's in the best interest of the team and winning games. And the thing that over the last 2 years, last year was a developmental year. We knew that going into it. This year it was about winning, and we knew that going into it. And next year is going to be about winning. And everybody's on the same page as far as that's concerned. And me and my staff will be the same way. We'll approach the game the same way.
How would you evaluate Myers' season, and what are your expectations of him this summer?
When you don't see Myers play, you don't realize that he has improved. And Joel beat him out in preseason, and Joel played extremely well, and the team was going really well. So that put some pressure on Myers. He got in the rotation in December and January. I thought he played well, but it was difficult, honestly, for me between Joel and Thomas and Myers, those 3 guys having consistent minutes. I think he has improved. It takes a while for big guys to make that next step. I think this is a very important summer for Myers because he has a lot of talent at both ends of the court, and he needs, unfortunately for him, when we're a winning team, he doesn't get the luxury of playing through mistakes and getting time on the court. So I think this is a big summer for him. He needs to play a lot of basketball, and it's a clean slate in October.
Will you negotiate to extend Lamarcus's contract this summer?
When the appropriate time comes, clearly, look, the most important thing is everybody, including LaMarcus, knows he's the #1 priority in the organization right now. And when that business needs to be handled and the timing is absolutely right, it's clearly a goal of ours to keep LaMarcus here long term. You know, LaMarcus knows that. His agents know that. We're aware of it. And like I said, there's economic issues at play that make things more complicated. Not on our end. From a collective bargaining standpoint, the timing of players' extensions in terms of maximizing their window. I went through this in Los Angeles where you could extend somebody early, but economically it was better for them to wait an extra year so they could get the longer term deal. So these are all things that'll be worked out with LaMarcus' agent. I think the big thing is that LaMarcus wants to be here, and clearly we want him here. That's the challenging part. The economics take care of themselves.
First thing I had to ask you is, talk about Los Angeles, seeing what's going on with the Clippers and Dallas Tillman. Is that difficult for you or shocking you?
Look, I'm not going to comment too much on the Clippers. I can say that there are a lot of incredible people there, and I'm sorry that they're going through a rough patch. And, you know, the team still had a great year. They competed. They went as far as we did. You know, like us, they probably had goals to go beyond that. And you know what? They'll get back to the drawing board. And, you know, but like I said, seeing friends of mine that are there suffering is hard for me.
Neil, you talked about markets and there being advantages to waiting and so forth. With team options, is there the same instances there? You have two team options.
We don't.
You do not.
No. Okay, there's a difference. Will Barton's contract is non-guaranteed until July 31st. So it's not an option. There's nothing that we actually have to do to pick up. If he is not waived on or before July 31st, his contract's fully guaranteed. The other one you were talking about? Robin also does not have a... We're going to do Cap 101, later, ladies and gentlemen. Robin's contract became fully guaranteed for the remaining 2 years on his contract on July 4th of last year. So his contract was fully guaranteed before we ever even traded for him.
You plan on keeping him up?
I'm sure we are. Someone has to lead the Twitter brigade. How do you get rid of someone who sends a text to his coach complimenting him on a great year, congratulating him on his extension, and then signs it the Thrill? How can you possibly not want that to be a part of your organization? The people's champion.
Mo Williams told us today, Neil, that he's looking for a 3-year deal, a long-term deal. Are you amenable to negotiating that with Mo?
Well, again, we can't talk to our free agents or other teams' free agents until July 1st. So, again, when the appropriate time comes, you know, Mo's a critical piece, and we'll talk about it when I'm allowed to talk about it. But I'm glad to know that he let you guys know what the parameters of the contract were going to be.
Yeah, starting point.
Thank you. Had good. Is there bad money? I didn't know there was bad money.
As far as USA basketball, what are you hoping to see the experience for Marcus and Damian?
No, go ahead.
I think it's a great opportunity for both of them to hopefully they both make the team and to be part of USA basketball. I don't think there's a player that has gone through that experience who hasn't benefited from the camaraderie, playing for your country. It's tremendous. And, you know, if they both make it, being able to share that experience together, it would be that much more rewarding for both of them. So, you know, Neil and I will probably be down there for some of that, but it's, you know, hopefully they'll both make it and they'll both be playing in Spain.
And on a personal note, Terry and I are both rooting for them because then we'll be in Barcelona in September.
You guys learn more from beating Houston or losing to San Antonio?
You always want to know what we learned. After every game, what'd you learn about your team today? You know, you take different things from both series. I thought the toughness that we showed against Houston, playing with the league, going down there and getting 2 wins. It was a different type of series as far as being physical, but to clinch it in Game 6, knowing that we may have to go down there in Game 7, it just, for a young team that hadn't been there before, it was reaffirming. It was, you know, something that we needed to go through. San Antonio, I think to a man, we all understood that this is where we're going. This is what we need to get to. They played exceptionally well. They played as a team. They played a much better type of basketball than they did during the season. You know, we split with them during the season and almost, or could have beaten them here, but they played at a different level than what we faced during the regular season. And understanding that playoff mentality against San Antonio and how they did it showed us a lot as well. So we took two different things from both those series.
Terry, this day is always about getting better and setting goals to get better. Who was the best example of that last year, coming back after the summer and applying what you guys talked about?
Well, you know, it's a tough thing because I know who I'm going to say, but I want to say that LA coming back and being a better leader and having a career year with all the innuendo that was over the summer, and him coming back as the franchise player and the leader of this team, and he took a big step. And Damian building on Rookie of the Year and people waiting for a sophomore slump and coming back and having the year. The fact that Wes and Nick both had career years. So I don't want to dismiss what those four guys did. But for me, the biggest growth was Will Barton. Will Barton, from last year to this year, grew as a player. He grew as a professional on and off the court. His basketball IQ is just, I don't know if I had seen a player make that big of a jump from one year to the next.
See,
Well,
now you learned something.
You know what? Joel made a big jump basketball-wise. You know, he from last year being used to the European game, trying to get used to the NBA game, the speed, the quickness. His body got better. He earned his minutes in the rotation, and there's no question he made a big jump basketball-wise. But I thought all around Will made it in a lot of different areas.
Would you have said that at midseason?
This year?
Yeah.
Probably not, because in midseason Joel was, you know, we were 24-5, and Joel was a big contributor off the bench. So, and I probably answered that question a little too quickly because Joel is certainly in that mix.
Are you most looking forward to seeing after the summer and seeing where the game will go in the tournament?
I'm sorry, who?
Like, which player is there one player that you're most looking forward to seeing?
No. Look, we've got 8 guys in their first or second year of the league, and you know, it's easy to point to CJ and Allen as rookies and seeing the jump that they're going to make. Thomas having been a year with us and see the jump that he's going to make. But we're at a stage where, you know, regardless of what happens with our roster and what we do with it, those guys need to make a jump. Whether it's a jump like Joel made last year, somebody, Myers. I think all those guys have an opportunity to improve and see what happens in October, because we need them all to get better. You know, it's we need, one of the things that I want to do as a coach is utilize the bench better, and to do that, the guys need to get better, not just one guy. Well, yes and no. I think when you look at the Spurs, I think what gets lost in that is that you look at their contributors off the bench, they're veteran guys. Marco Bellinelli and Ginobili and Diaw and you know, those guys coming off the bench have been around for a long time, and they found their niche and they know what they can do in this league. And Pop knows what he's going to get when he puts those guys in the game. So I think it's unfair to our guys to compare them to San Antonio's bench. Well, first of all, our defense did get a lot better this year. We went from 26th to 16th. So that was our goal was to be in the top half of the league, and we almost were there. So I think playing in playoff series, understanding the every possession mentality throughout the course of the season is going to make us that. The experience that we got being a 54-win team and going to the second round of the playoffs is going to make us a better defensive team.
Terry, are you any concerned at all about potentially your top 2 players playing until September 14th, I think?
No.
You're concerned about everything.
No, I think it's look. USA basketball is different than playing for, like when Dirk had to play for the German national team and he had to play 40 hard minutes for them to compete. It's different with USA basketball. You've got, it's not as strenuous. The French team is starting practice 2 months before the championships, and they're doing two-a-days. So it's a different mentality. I think it's a great experience for them, and it's a good way to get good competition. You're playing against good competition every day. You're staying in shape, and it may be mentally fatiguing by the time it's all done, but I think it's great.
Well, you've got a guy in the French team.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about, you know.
Well, if he does, I don't know if he is going to play or not. That's his decision. But I'd be more concerned about that. Yeah, when you expend that much mental and physical effort over the summer, especially when you play in the playoffs, that is a concern. That would be a concern for me.
Time for a couple more questions. Which players will you have with you Sunday?
Right now, we anticipate C.J. Allen, Will, Thomas, Myers, and Joel. Well, again, I get back to the fact that there's no question we got better defensively, and a lot of that was I shouldn't say a lot. Part of it was Robin coming in. Part of it was our guys adding a year of understanding the league. I think making a jump defensively is more difficult in this league than it is offensively, and having a year under their belt made Damian and Joel and the rest of them better defensively. And I don't want to sit here and say that I'd be content next year to be the 16th defense, but we need to make an incremental growth next year defensively.
Okay, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks, everybody.